Business, a person's occupation, profession, or trade. Connection, a relationship in which a person or idea is linked or associated with something else. Welcome to Business Connection. Each week, our program will offer inspiration to navigate the business world. Information you can use to succeed in any field. And we will help you focus on your goals. Join us now for Business Connection with your host, BC Clark.
Hi, this is BC Clark, and the show is The Business Connection. Today, my guest is the incomparable Frank Hayes of Hayes & Associates.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
It's always good to have you on the show. You know, you have so much knowledge, so much wisdom about everything, but particularly I love the fact that you are educating business owners. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I wanted us to talk about today.
Sure.
This is Black History Month, but even besides that, I like the fact that you've opened this program up, and people are coming and getting the information.
And excited about it.
And excited,
That's
yes.
what gives me a lot
Yes,
of,
yes,
yeah,
and
energy.
because they're learning. You know, the two ladies that just left, we just got through talking about that, you know, without information, there's no way you can be successful.
Yeah.
You know, and the more you know, the more you're going to grow. And hopefully bring somebody else with you.
Yeah.
And so, but I wanted to talk with you about how you decided to do this, because I know for many years you've seen people go to banks and things and couldn't get loans, and you know, credit, didn't understand financials and all that stuff. Walk me through that journey that kind of gave you some insight, like, you know what, I need to do something.
You know, in the context of Black history, you know, in our condition in this country,
Yes.
we've always suffered from a lack of information,
Yep.
a lack of access,
Yes.
a lack of being in those rooms where people learn these things, right?
Yes.
I tell the story from my own personal perspective. I am a CPA, that's what I do. But when I went to college at Creighton University as a freshman, I found myself in a class of maybe 50 to 60 freshmen in that class. And I was one of the few that had no idea what I was doing. And when I say no idea, I didn't even know what the whole industry of accounting was. But I was motivated to learn because my scholarship was based on doing well in that area. So I'm sitting in the room, and the language that people were speaking, even though it wasn't a foreign language, to me, it was like a foreign language, because the kids that were in the class, they're communicating with the professor and they're talking as if they understood each other. I didn't even know what these terms were. And so I realized then that I had to educate myself to the language of business, right?
Yes.
Because that's the only way I was going to be.
That's
the
right.
only way I could compete with these kids. And I didn't have the benefit or the privilege of being around people who could just grew up. And all my peers were like, well, my dad is this, my mom is this, they own their own firm, they talking this and talking that. And I realized then, and it goes way back to then, that language of business is something that as a people, Black people, we're not sometimes exposed to.
Not privy to it.
And so we see the success that people have. And we wonder, I think I can do that. But what we sometimes lack is that education, that literacy that you need to order to just talk business, let alone
Anything
go
else.
out and sell and make,
Yeah.
and produce, to have that conversation. So that same thing exists just in general.
Yes.
Over the years, I've been doing this a long time. People come to me and they say, I want to start my own business. I think I'm great at this. I have this great product. I really think I have a customer base. I can really make this work. And then I start asking them questions. Have you considered how you're going to finance this? And they say, well, yeah. I said, well, how? Well, I'm going to get a loan. And I'm like, okay, that's all sounds well and good, but that is not as easy as it comes. And then they say, well, I know, and I'll convince these people that I have what it takes. And I said, no. You need to first get some basic knowledge. Well, I tell that story for this reason. I've seen this in my entire life. I seen it when I was a little kid, and my dad was a farmer. And I was not a farmer. I didn't like it. I didn't want to do it. And I never appreciated some of it. He was a farmer by profession, but in order to be successful, he had to know the
that land,
business.
that's
He
right.
had to know what he was doing. I didn't appreciate it when I was young. All I was looking at was all this hard
work.
work and all this stuff. But then as I got older and I really matured, I realized that my dad had something that he didn't express. It was that knowledge, and he got it from his dad. So you have that passing down.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to do here, one of the things I'm trying to do with this program is, even though you may not have had the benefit of all of that legacy, that you can still start somewhere. And you can start with knowledge and information that will help you make better business decisions.
Right.
Now,
Absolutely.
nothing is guaranteed, BC.
No,
You know that.
I do, yeah.
But what helps you to succeed is knowledge. And so that's what I'm about. It's about giving knowledge to people and then allowing them to make good, hopefully good decisions as a result of it.
Yes.
So that's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And I see it all the time.
Yes.
And so often we have great ideas and committed individuals and motivated people. But if you're not armed with the knowledge, sometimes you can't turn that into value. You know what I mean?
I do. I feel like the same thing. I know when I went to work in the community after I had retired from ConAgra Foods, we were doing loans, and I remember doing loans for I think 2 years, and I kept thinking, and I kept saying, I was like, we have to educate. Are these loans are not going to work?
Yeah.
And
Even if they get the loan, if they don't handle it properly,
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
And it didn't. But anyway, after that second year of me kept talking, and I remember one time going in front of the board and saying, look, we have a lot of defaults. Yeah, because why? Because they don't know what they need to know in order to be successful at this. And so I had all these presentations because in 2003, when I first started my consulting business, me and two other partners, that's what we were doing back then. Okay? But it was mostly white people coming in. Anyway, we didn't have any of us. It was all the others. And we had once a month on a Saturday, we had a sales and marketing breakfast. And I'm going to tell you right now, we were the only ones in there. That was us. And the room was filled, and it was $25 a come. That was back in 2003.
Yeah.
I have people right now who come up to me and say, God, you guys were way ahead of your time.
Yeah.
But I think what it was that, and it was one of the people with me was white, but the other one was black. So it was like we had probably 80 years of experience.
But you approach it with a consciousness that you needed to have.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And I think the other thing too was when I went to work in the community, I saw some of the same things that we saw back then in 2003, but it was with a whole set of different people that didn't have any background knowledge of anything. And what had happened was I kept saying, look, we have to train people. And so that's when they finally promoted me to director of training and client and business development. And so I put on all these programs. I started the small business clinic, and brought in every facet of business, because a lot of them didn't even know where to go for resources. So you have to look at the root cause of stuff and say, what do we need to do from here? Yeah. Because once you get the root out, then they can build. But if you don't have the roots for the foundation of the business, it's not going to grow.
If it does grow, it'll be in spite of that.
Yes.
And that doesn't happen very often.
No.
Now,
it doesn't.
if you're one of those lucky people who have all these resources behind you, you can screw up. I'm sorry, you can fail and still do it again. But most of us, we don't have that luxury.
That's
So
right.
that enormous pressure on the front end is what I'm trying to relieve. You
Yes.
know, because when you start a business, you got so much going on.
I'm telling
You
you.
got so many different things to manage and take care of. Because most of the times when you first start, you're doing everything.
Everything.
And so if I can help if we as a firm, Hayes
Yeah.
and Associates, can help in any way to mitigate some of that
Yeah.
so that it doesn't become so overwhelming, that makes the opportunities greater.
It does.
So
Yeah.
all I'm really trying to do, and because I know it's needed.
It's
See,
needed.
and so I just have always, even if clients come to me and they say, I got everything together. I don't need no
They all
help.
have that.
All I want is for somebody to do this for me,
Mm-hmm.
a particular thing. I said, that's great. I said, let's talk for a minute. And you just start
That's me.
communicating. and then, you know, and then they sort of,
They start picking up.
they pick it up. They say, oh, I never thought about
Yep.
that. Or this. One of the things in our program, our financial literacy program that we're conducting, and you know Davita Stewart, right?
Yeah.
She's doing a fantastic job.
She is.
We've done 3 cohorts so far, and we're starting our 4th right after April 15th.
I ordered some.
And
some
so
people.
it's so gratifying. I'm serious. We had our graduation, our most recent graduation last week, and you know, we did it up. We gave them little caps and gowns.
I saw that. Look, it was so funny because I'm the one I had first told the Robinson
Yeah.
about it, and they said, "Oh, well," I said, "You got to do it." I said, because I've been working with them for a couple of years.
Right.
I was like, "Oh my God, they need to, they need this." So I told them, and so and then when Davita went there, I said, "Davita, just talk to them. They need to do." So So then she called. She said, "You were right. That class was so good." I was like, "Yes, yes."
Yeah,
And I said, "But did y'all buy your own caps and gowns, or did they give them to you?" And she goes, "No, they provided." I said, "Frank owes me."
Well,
Anyway,
you know,
no, but that's so good though.
I love
I
it
love
because it was a celebration.
Yeah.
And yes, they learned.
Oh, yeah.
But their energy levels were elevated. I'm an energy person.
me
I love to be around people like you because I get energy from
Yes.
that. And that's really a big thing. And so when you can go and celebrate something that, even if it's not the biggest thing in the world,
Right.
but you can celebrate it, it's like, wow, this is feels so good.
And you have to
Yeah.
celebrate those wins. Every win. I always tell, especially, I tell women, look, they say, "Oh, I just did this." I said, "Why do you say just?" I said, "How long did it take you?" "Oh, it took me a year." I said, "Why is it a just then?" I said, "Celebrate that.
Celebrate
Own
it.
it.
Own
you
it.
know, I always say, and I always tell them, just own it. Because a lot of times we downplay ourselves, and you can't. I said, I remember when I was 16, I was so shy. I would not talk. I mean, can you believe it? I know you can. But anyway, when I say that to people, they were like, "I don't believe it." But I remember when I was in 9th grade, my dad owned a gas station. And, and so I was glad all the boys worked at the gas station, all that. And so he came home one day, I was in 9th grade, he goes, he said, he put all this paper in front of me and these receipts and stuff. He said, "I want you to do the books." And I said, I looked at those books. I said, "You want me to do the books?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "You know I don't like math, right?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "You know I'm not good at it, right?" He goes, "I know." I said, "And you want me to do them?" He said, "Yeah, you'll figure it out." I was in 9th grade. I hated him. I'm not kidding. I hated him. I didn't really hate him. But
No, I know what you
hated
mean. I know what you mean.
But he threw me into something that I didn't realize how it would help me later on. And so by the time I got to 12th grade, I had kind of figured a lot of stuff out. And so I told him, he said, "I told you you'd figure it out." Like that, in Louisiana, the talk, And so, but anyway, when I said, I'm never going to do anything in business. I don't like business. I don't want, that was I kept saying that, running for years. And I don't know, in 2003, I started seeing other people working with other women who had started their business. And I was like, and people were coming to me for advice, and I was like, "Oh, okay then." So, and I thought, I might as well go into business and do this myself,
Yeah.
and get paid for it. And really, the first 2 years, 3 years, it was all immigrants, non-African Americans.
Really?
Yep. Carpet businesses, and it was nobody but God. We didn't even know what we had. We really didn't. And I mean, and so by 2008, when the economy was going crazy, we went from 76 clients down to like 20. I mean, that was the drop. And I was like, okay, I was still working, at doing other businesses and working with a few clients and all this stuff. And so it was I was working with 13 clients when my partner said, both of them, they were leaving town. They were leaving. They were young. They were going to find themselves. I don't know if they were finding themselves or not, but anyway, they were leaving. I thought, okay. So I said, let me just try to back up, because I was working with a lot of entrepreneurs at that time. And so I just renamed the company from Leading Edge Consulting to Leading Edge Entrepreneur Group. And just started working with people that wanted to start a business and things like that. Again, my ratio of individuals was less on this side than it was on the other side. But anyway, when I retired from Conagra Food in 2005, so I was on like 6 boards, you know what I mean, just going through that kind of stuff.
No,
And
yeah, I did it too.
when they find you a workhorse,
Oh, yeah.
my, they love you. Everybody wants you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so I was a workhorse, and I was, oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can do that. But then I got to a point I was like, mm-mm. So about 2014, I was like, okay, I need to get off of this board. I need to get off of that board. And I just kept the ones I wanted, like the advisory for UNO, a couple of other ones that I had that didn't take a lot of work. So I stayed on those, and then I met Jim in, I think, 2014, and he had just came into Omaha. He had been working in the Balkans doing what he's doing now, but he was all over in India and all those places. And I met him at a networking, Jim Reef.
Yeah.
And I met him at a networking event, and we just started talking. I said, well, and he was looking for a job at the time. I said, well, why don't you come to the breakfast? Because then on WBC have that breakfast every month. I said, why don't you come to the breakfast? He said, does men come? I said, well, there's 6 on the roster. I said, and 3 of them usually come no matter what. I said, and because they want to know. And I said, look, I said they're in a great place. Because why? Because women do everything. Women have a lot of information and knowledge. I said, they're smart to be there. So he came to a breakfast. And when he came to a breakfast, and we have the table introduction and all that, he got up and he said who he was and that he just got here and he was looking for a job, And I think Rose, who was the president of Nebraska Impressment at that time, I think she might have been in the audience. But anyway, when I saw him like a couple of months later, it was probably about, because I would see him and I would just wave, because, I network all the time. And so anyway, it was in 15 when I saw him this time and he had gotten hired. And he said, hey, he said, Terrence Coleman? I said, yeah, he left. He left NEF. I said, what did he do? Like that. And he said, oh, he went, he didn't want to be here anymore. And I said, well, I said, no, what did he do? Because I didn't know, I still didn't pay attention when he was talking about what the job was. And so we played tag like probably a month. And he kept saying, I said, well, what did he do? He said, well, send me a resume. I said, no, I don't want to work for you. I just want to know what he did, like that. And then so anyway, I had been praying about something different. And all of a sudden, when he kept coming and he said, well, he did, told me, he said, well, we do loans. I said, okay, then I thought I ain't doing that, because I was, I was running from the numbers. And so he said, well, just, he said, I'll send you some information. I said, okay. So he sent me some information. And he said, if I send you the information, will you send me a resume? I said, but he said, it doesn't mean anything. I said, okay. But then when I saw what he did, I thought, you know what? I think I might want to do this. Mm-hmm. And that's how it all started. And then so I found he sent me an offer letter. And then in February of 2016 is when I went to work for them.
No.
And
how long did you work there? Probably?
Almost 8 years. And I said I was going to be there 3. I said, well, I'll be here, 3 years, and I'm going back to my own business. But Frank, the need was so much that my heart was like, there ain't no way in the world you can leave.
Yeah,
I started something. You can't leave.
You can't
leave. And I wasn't trying to. And after that, I just said, but I felt like in 23 I had done all I could do, and God was calling me away. And so I said, I gotta,
gotta do something different.
Gotta do something different.
I've had. I always tell people this. I've had 1, 2, 4 jobs in my life, And this particular job that I have now, I've been in for over 40 years. So in each of those jobs, I always tell people this too, I'm a learner. I'm about education. I always took the mentality, I don't know if I was conscious about this on my first job. My first job was a sacker in a grocery store.
Yeah.
But I always took the mentality, I need to learn. Wherever I'm working, I want to learn. So
Yeah.
I said, I'd give myself a little test, even when I was a sacker. I would say, I would look at someone pull their, this is before we had the scanner,
Yeah.
right? People would pull up their grocery baskets and they would say, and I would guess how much they were.
Oh, okay.
You like Price is Right or something? And so it was amazing. I had this, because I knew prices and stuff, and I would look at it and I would try to get as close as I could to the price of what it was, and it was amazing. That kept me entertained.
Yeah.
And then it was, okay, how few bags can I use to put the groceries in?
Wow.
Rather than how many, how few. So I had to figure out geometry and
Oh, yes.
dynamics and
How to
what
stage
goes
all
with
that.
what. I was constantly trying to make my job interesting to me. And I'm counter to you. I love math.
I know
And
you
I've
are.
always loved math. And so a lot of it was just games I was playing in my head. But every opportunity, I did that. I worked there for 2 years at that grocery store. And by the time I was done, I was in the office. So I'd gone from a sacker to a stocker to this,
Yeah.
to that. But in every step, I learned. And here's another thing I tell you. You mentioned all the relationships that you've had and how you got to where you are and how you met people and stuff. That's another thing that I believe strongly in, developing relationships along the way. So my first job, I didn't fill out an application. My brother-in-law, my oldest sister's husband, took me up to the manager and introduced me. And he said he needs a job. And the manager hired
How'd
me.
you
And
like
guess
that?
who the manager was? It was, I don't know if you're familiar with Great Plains Black History Museum.
Yeah.
Mrs. Calloway started that. Her husband was the manager at this grocery store. And my brother-in-law knew him. So he took me up there, introduced me to him. I got that job because of relationship.
That's right.
He didn't know me from Adam, right? I got the job, but then I felt a responsibility
Yeah.
to justify my
Yes.
brother-in-law's confidence in me,
Right.
and my manager's
Yeah.
sort of faith that I would do a good
Right.
job.
Yeah.
So I've always felt like what part of my job is to create opportunities for others to be successful, because that's what happened to me.
Yes.
I had these people along the way, and at the time, BC, I didn't call them mentors.
No.
These
I
were
was feeling
just
somebody that-
people
that's right.
that came into my life, and I interacted with, saw something in me, and felt like they wanted to put a little bit of their time in me, and then it was my responsibility to respond to
with
that.
that.
And it's the same thing. I keep going back to this financial literacy. I had help. I am in the position, we are in the position that we can help.
Help. Yes.
So let's help.
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
and it gives me an enormous amount of satisfaction.
Yeah.
To be in the position to help.
To help. Yeah.
And so you asked me at the beginning, why do I do this? That's why I do anything. My business, and we're celebrating our 43rd anniversary this year on October 1st. My business started with 2 people, right? Me and one other person. We're now close to 40. Now, a lot of people, that's not huge,
yeah.
but it's significant.
Oh, it's significant. I'll tell you that right now.
And the reason it's significant in my number one, when I started this firm, one of the things I said, because I had again, going back to history, when I graduated from college at Creighton, I went to work for the Internal Revenue Service. I didn't want to work there my full career.
Sure.
So I said, I want to go work for a CPA firm. I couldn't find a job, even though I had all the credentials and everything. So that's another historical thing.
Yeah.
So when I started Hayes and Associates, part of my motivation, a good part of it was, I want people that look like me, feel like they can go into an organization and be successful.
Yeah.
Not doing it for them,
No, just
but affording the opportunity.
yes.
And so when people have that, then it's up to them what they do with it.
Yep.
But it's my
true.
job, if I'm in the position to help people gain those opportunities, that's what I'm about. I could be in construction, I could be
whatever.
If I'm doing that part, and if I continue to do that part, then that's what keeps me going.
Yep.
And that's why, and when you asked me to come during Black History Month, I was thinking, everything about most of us, we're making history.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
It might be a minor part,
Yep.
but
it's
we're
still,
making
we're
history.
making history.
And so I really do take that to heart.
Yeah. I love it.
I feel compelled and obligated to help others. I
think, yeah, me
that's
too.
just part of it.
I think it's just who we are. I think it's how we build. And the thing about it is that somebody helped me, I want to help them. And sometimes I probably go too far trying to help people. But I think that, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
So I wanted to tell you that because I've been so, I don't know if Davida told you this already or not, but you are invited to our Masquerade Ball this year. It's March 21st.
Yeah.
And we're giving you an award because we have an award that for small business, recognizing and making an impact in the community with small businesses.
Right.
So thank you very much for that. And
I
we'd love to
appreciate
see you on the 21st of
I
March.
will definitely be there.
And bring your whole staff. They all need to get a ticket.
Okay. All right.
It's a fundraiser. But I think that we have to recognize people also that do this kind of stuff, because a lot of times they go unnoticed.
Yes, they
and
do.
not on my watch. And I really love the program. And I refer people. I was like, talk to Davida. Go talk to Davida. She can get you in.
I ain't gonna lie. I have to give her props.
You have to.
Davida has been with Hayes for a little. April 1 will make 2 years. The impact that she has had.
Oh, tremendous. It's who she is, though.
Yeah.
I love her. When she worked out in West, I called it
I didn't know
Timbuktu.
Davida until she came to work for us.
I know, but I've been knowing her for a long time. I got 20 seconds. I'm going to tell you this here. She was out in Timbuktu working for UP. I probably was the only one of her friends who drove all the way out there in Timbuktu, because she was my friend, and we have that relationship.
Right.
And so I love her. I think she's amazing.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
I have said this many times. I love being around you. Another person who, Diva Mijejas, you guys have this thing, and you emanate energy, and I love it.
Thank you so much. We're out.